Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you, Peter?
I'm fine. How are you making?
Good.
Good.
I am wondering when we're going to get back to what we call normal. I begin to realize that that's never going to happen.
Oh, man. This is a rough week in the Coca-Cola family. My son was getting married in December in Orlando.
Yeah.
Canceled.
No, he's not doing it.
No, you know, this is weird. One of his best man is a teacher. If you're a teacher in Connecticut, you can't go out of state. You can't go to Florida for a year unless you quarantine and no pay and all that. So, like, okay, plan B, get my money back from the airlines.
All right, so we're on episode number 208, Peter. And today's episode is called What to Say to Real Estate Sellers to Qualify Them for Creative Deals Even When You're Stuck. Even when you're stuck. Sounds like an emotional and painful problem when you spend 30, 60, maybe 90 minutes with a seller to only have the seller be abrasive, irritated, or just not qualified for you to help them. Never done that before, right, Pete?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Imagine if you could get all the no's out of the way within the first 10 minutes of talking to them about their house for sale. This allowing you to concentrate on the prospects and not waste time with the suspects. Mm-hmm. Even better when if in that 10 minutes you could score with a number the seller's true motivation and find out their true wants and needs so you can present them to the seller, making it almost impossible to resist you.
Man, does that work on women?
I don't think I could do that, Peter.
I was just hoping. Sorry, I had a slightly strange morning. The phone rings at 6:30. I thought it was you. Like, there's something with the podcast. We're going to do something different. The wife runs over a curb, slashes a tire, and she's in a parking lot with a flat tire. Can you come help me?
Boy.
Sure, sweetheart. There I go.
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
I think that's funny. You're asking an old fat guy that smokes cigars to help you with women. Yeah, that'll blow over real good. All right. So I'll read that again. And find their true wants and needs so you can present them to the seller, making it almost impossible to resist you and almost chase you like a dog chases the cat. Plus, it was so simple to know you will smack yourself on the forehead wondering why you didn't or don't do it yourself. Unfortunately, because most don't know what we are about to cover in this podcast, they waste a lot of time and resources, then come to me and tell me they are going to give up without ever making a dime in this lucrative industry. In this amazing episode, we will get down to the nitty-gritty on why these investors have never made a dime and petered out before their paydays and their glory.
Hey, what about Peter? What?
They petered out.
Hey, I didn't peter out. I'm still puttering, Bill. I'm still puttering along. Yeah, but you're so right. You know, it's so amazing the time people waste. And, you know, it's accurate that you call investors to keep investing. No
their
damn
time.
return, though.
Their time. They keep investing their time and their money in the education, not in the real estate. I'm gonna come up with some special word for that.
Yeah. Oh,
you're an investor.
Okay, we'll have to think about that. No, it's true.
You're an investor, all right. You're an investor, all right. Investing in all the real estate courses on how you can make money. Why don't you just do it?
Hey, want to see my bookcase?
What if you could sort out prospects from suspects as easy as falling off a log?
Yeah.
Think that would change your life?
I'd stop falling off logs.
Dealing with unmotivated sellers is like kissing a pig with warts, Peter.
Ooh.
And it'll give you a bad taste for ham and bacon.
Ouch.
To think these things come out of my head, right?
Do you wake up with this stuff going through your head?
I read too much and get too many ideas. And you need to find your prospect quickly, because if offers aren't getting made, you're not getting paid.
Oh man, that rhymes, man.
That's a Ron LeGrand saying. I stole it from Ron LeGrand.
Say it again.
I can't
I like
take
it.
credit. Yep. So you need to find prospects quickly, because if offers aren't getting made, you aren't getting paid.
But didn't he say you ain't getting paid being Ron LeGrand?
No. So you'll soon come to realize the prospect-suspect sorting is the key to the vault of consistent monthly income. And we don't talk about it nowhere near enough.
No,
Nowhere
it's
near
true.
enough.
It's true.
So wouldn't it make sense we had a little system to do this so that we don't get eaten alive? Eaten alive, Peter.
Yeah.
No, prospects can't do that. Suspects can't do that, I mean. Can they?
Well, I don't know what to say. I'm going to save it for the content when it comes up.
All right. Imagine what it would be like if we got all the non-qualifying suspects out of the way in just a few minutes of talking to them. Would only make sense if you could then use your knowledge and energy on sellers worthy of your talents to help them, right?
Oh yeah.
That right there is something I don't have time to elaborate on today, but we could virtually or literally, let's use that word, literally make a whole podcast just on that. Would only make sense you could then use your knowledge and energy on sellers worthy of your talents to help them. That's a mindset right there. That's a huge, huge mindset, because most people think that they don't know this business. They have to come to somebody like you and I and like, oh, teach us this and teach us that. Bullcrap. If you're listening to these podcasts and you're studying real estate and you're spending an hour or two a week on real estate and have been doing it for several months, you know so much more than the average bear, boo.
Oh yeah,
so
it doesn't take much.
So much more than the average bear.
More than the average realtor.
Yeah. And that's because, especially here at this podcast, I'm 100% bragging, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please do that. If you haven't given us a review, please do that, because that's what keeps us bringing these podcasts to you. You know, if you don't participate and you want to sit by the sidelines and not subscribe and not give us a review, that's how your real estate business is going to go, because the way you do something is the way you do everything.
That's exactly what I thought when you're saying that. I didn't even know you were going to go there.
Yeah.
But you have to be. I read something recently, last year or so, and I'm trying to apply it, and it's really hard. And as much as I think I know and we know and all that, it's if you're going to do something, you got to be all in.
Yeah.
I'm translating plain English, all in. You don't maybe. Anything you want to do. I don't care what it is. Just do it.
And it's not a question of whether it's going to happen or not. You 100, when you mean by all in, you mean 1,000%. You just believe it's going to happen.
Well, yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the barriers that are presented.
No. Corollary, music. I've read articles about with top, the world's best guitar players. You know the names. And they ask them, how'd you get so good? They go, what do you mean how to get so good? I love it. I just do it because I want to. And just keep doing it. And like you with real estate. You love it more than me. But for me, it's a way to get things done. But I really like when I make things work and people are happy. And I take disgruntled tenants and they become friendly and they pay and they help out and they clean up. And the whole thing gets better. You're making something better in the world. For you, for the community, for the people living there, people buying the house, people selling the house. How do you beat that? That's pretty good. But you got to be all in. And it's if you believe it isn't going to work, it isn't.
That's right. Or if there's doubt, then the doubt will sneak in.
Yeah. And see, where does doubt come from, Bill? What could make that happen when you're talking to people on the phone? Where does that come from?
All right, so it's my contention that a lot of real estate investors simply can't do this very precise step, which is qualifying suspects to prospects, okay? Otherwise, there would be a lot more doing deals than giving up without ever getting results. And the people that give up, if they just understood the significance and not the difficulty or the hardness or like the training, weeks and weeks worth of training. It's not any of that. It's just a couple simple things that you have to make or adjust in your conversations with your sellers that could do this. And we're going to talk about that today. And I think this is the hardest mindset for every investor to get. Okay? But once they get it, it's like Kent taking off his tie, his shirt, his glasses, ripping off his clothes, and becoming Superman. It's what it's like. I mean, that's the vision I get, because when my private coaching clients do this, it's like they turn into from this little, supposedly meek person. Is that the right word?
Meek.
Meek person, and they get a cape, and all of a sudden they're like fearless, and they're like, fighting steel, whatever all that Superman stuff is, right? I gotta brush up on my Superman analogies if I'm going to use them. Okay, so here's the first mindset. You ready, Peter?
Yep, Bill.
So here's the first mindset that needs to change. And I'm telling you, if you think that you plan on getting a lot of questions here, I have some. I can rattle them off. I have them on my printer. I gotta grab them. Sorry about that. I ripped my headsets out of my speaker when I.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you think that there's going to be a lot of questions, right, and a lot of trick things to say, I have them, and we can use them, and we can make it all about that. But today I'm more interested in the theory of it and the mindset. I'm more interested in the mindset than the actual questions, because if you understand what we're doing here, you'll just naturally do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mindset keeps coming up, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, so here we go. So rule number 1. You ready, Peter?
Rule number 1.
Don't pitch. Rule number 2. Know the difference between selling and pitching. Rule number 1. Don't pitch. Rule number 2. Know the difference between selling and pitching. End the podcast. We could end there and it would be enough. Just putting it in those terms is amazing to me anyways.
Yeah, but you know what you're talking about. We need to hear some details here.
Pitching. You assume you know the problem of the seller and start shoving your solution down their throat without verifying it's what they want. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, anybody who's had somebody call them on the phone and try to sell them something, like, you didn't even ask me if I'm interested in solar panels. Ask me first.
Right.
Don't even ask.
It's kind of like the salesman that has his presentation. He's just going to do his presentation no matter what.
Yeah, if you fit, you fit. If you don't fit, well, why waste your time?
The phone guys, right? The phone guys, I just had somebody tell me the other day that they were enamored by the Verizon phone people, because no matter what you say, they just keep doing their presentation. They like acknowledge you and they go back to their presentation. You know, it's like, oh, the house is on fire. Okay, let me tell you about my next pump. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's pretty weird. Okay, so that's pitching. Selling. You ready?
Yeah.
You ask the seller or the prospect, we're going to say that you ask the seller what the dirty little details are about their situation before you start giving your knowledge to them.
Oh yeah, well, you have to know this. You have to know what's. Wait a minute. What?
No.
What? I didn't say.
So many people, you say that you have to. Well, because so many people will try to pitch their deal to a seller and not do it the way we're used to. You're used to it because we do it all the time.
Yeah, but anything you do, I mean, you go to the doctor, he just doesn't give you a prescription. He finds out what's wrong first.
Right.
Duh.
We're going to talk about that. Okay? So, it's being a reluctant buyer. We've talked about that, and I've had some questions about it, so I'm going to clarify that. So, being a reluctant buyer. Make the seller give you what you want before you pay them with your ideas and your help. Because like you said, if you can't get the right information, you can't make the right offer. Right?
Yeah.
Most investors think the way to make deals is to make a presentation, right? Let me see what I wrote here. Most investors is to make presentations and obvious conversation in order to make the seller like you. So here's the problem. The investor goes in and they pretend to like the person. And it's so obvious. It's so freaking obvious, right? Yeah. They're pretending to build rapport with them. And they're you know, I run into people like this all the time in society. I was at the smoke shop last night, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a couple guys that came in. It was late. It was probably, I don't know, 10 o'clock. And there was all of a sudden a swarm of guys coming because, you know, he stays open. He's usually there most nights till midnight, right? And if you're a club member, you can go anytime you want because we have keys. So his brother came in with about 4 or 5 guys. And they were all, I guess, at a funeral, one of the guys at a funeral. And the guy that his uncle or grandfather, whoever it was, died, you know, he kept trying to talk to me. And it's like it's like he's on hyper, you know, like, hey, how you doing, buddy? How's that cigar? You know, nice weather, isn't it? You like it out here? Isn't it really nice? You know, it's like he's pretending to be my friend. Yeah. And he's talking about things that I could care less about. And he never once took a moment to be interested in me. Mm. Instead he's just being interested. He's like putting on his little show so that I will like him.
He's interesting.
Yeah. So he's being interesting. Yeah. Instead of being interested in me. Yeah. So it's like he feels like if he puts on his little act, that I'll like him, and then I'll become. Now that works socially, which is, you know, social is like make believe. It's pretend.
But that's the 30 seconds you're spending with the cashier or the waitress. Right. That's not a relationship. That's just a transaction where you have to do some business and just be polite to each other. Right. You know, and I don't like getting into deep conversations like that. I'll never see the person again. I'm not going to start something I'm not going to finish. So I stay polite, and I go home.
Right. But we're going to have a relationship with our sellers, especially in cases where we're going to get terms deals, right? Yeah. So this investor will pretend like he's being their friend, right? And then goes into his pitch hoping not to hear any no's. Like his pitch is going to be so miraculous that the person's going to lunge themselves, the seller's going to lunge themselves at him and say, oh my God, I'm going to do that.
Where have you been all my life?
Yeah. So it should be more like I have So let me get this straight. So when this pitch is happening, right? When this investor is doing the pitch, it's more like things like, I have this thing. Here's why you should have it. Right? I have this thing. Here's why you should have it. And that's often uncomfortable. Not only that, your seller knows what you're doing. So they kind of like try to warm you up. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Yeah, oh yeah, how's the wife? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Right? You know, and then how's that cigar? You know, all that stuff. And then they go right into their pitch. And their pitch is more like, I have this thing, and here's why you should have it. In most cases, they're convincing you to have it so that they can make money.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So their interest is to be interesting so that you'll purchase from them. You know, kind of like Hollywood. Hollywood is interesting. It's like, oh, look at this movie with all this special effects in it.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go give your, $8 or $12 or whatever it costs to go to a movie these days, if you could do that, and that's how they make their money. Right?
Right, but a lot of times there's no story.
Right.
There's no content. There's no connection. Right. You walk out, you don't like think, boy, you don't keep thinking about it, like how things worked, and isn't it so great that she did this and he did that, and they helped that, and look what they did. It's amazing. It's just like things got blown up, now let's go home.
Right.
It's kind of empty content.
Pretty much. Especially movies nowadays. I mean, back in the day they weren't, but nowadays they are. How about we do something a little bit different? Okay? How about we don't be afraid of the no's, but instead get them up front and quick so we don't have to do our presentation and give our knowledge if we aren't going to get some type of return. And I don't mean a return like money. I mean a return like the satisfaction of helping somebody. Right?
And money?
Yeah. And if it works, we'll get paid.
Okay. Well, if it doesn't work, you don't get paid. So, I've said to people on the phone, if I can't find a way to help you, we're not going to do anything. So I'm trying to find out what you need so I can help you. I've said that just, bluntly sometimes.
Right.
And they seem to appreciate it. Like, oh, okay. What else is happening here?
That's true.
What does the waitress say when she comes up to you? She goes, may I help you?
Yep.
They don't start like, buy this hamburger, buy that hot dog, get the crab salad. God damn it. Get some Coca-Cola, will you please?
Right.
Michael Coke. They ask you, may I help you? They're brilliant, huh, Bill?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Never mind. Keep talking.
Hey, I had a chiropractor one time that I met, shook my hand, and he says to me, how you feeling?
Oh, yeah? Oh, man. Was he holding onto your hand while he did that? No, and then he turn your hand a little bit and they check your shoulder out and say, turn around and start checking your spine out. You're in a session all of a sudden. How you feeling? Wow.
I have to go down in history in the world of Bill's Planet and flipping houses for rookies, naming this part of the process, which is not anything new. It's just I want to name it here so we can, from now on, go forward speaking of this in flipping houses for rookies. This process that we're talking about right now is the discovery stage.
Yeah. Oh, that's
the discovery stage. It's where you figure out whether or not you're going to continue with this seller. And here's how you can do this in one sentence. Ready?
No.
And if you're listening to this, you should rewind it and probably write it down and memorize it. It's new for me. I don't want to say that I have tremendous success with it, but the little bit I've used it, it's been amazing.
Oh, is this something new that I haven't heard?
Correct.
Wow, I thought it was that other one that I have heard. What is it, Bill?
What's the biggest challenge you've been facing right now with selling your house?
Oh, that is so good. Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Ben Settle. He helped me with that, yeah. What is the biggest challenge you're facing right now with selling your house?
Wow, you're looking for what's really bugging them? Is that what it is?
Whatever comes up. Well, no, I really don't need to sell it. I could wait till, December, and I just wanted to see what it was worth. Or, man, we bought another house and I got 2 payments. Right? Now, the sentence you're talking about all the time is, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Yeah.
Right?
But that's not the same as what you're talking about. So a person can say, oh, I need $189,000. Because they're thinking numbers in their head usually. But you're asking, what's the challenge? You're asking them what's in the way.
Right.
That's a good question before asking the other one, huh?
Right. Well, we're talking about pre-qualifying now. So a question you can ask is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now with selling your house? Mm-hmm. That could be asked the first 3 minutes you're on the phone.
Sure.
Right.
And you get answers like, the times we've heard good answers, like, I have to move to Denver in 6 weeks because my daughter-in-law is out there with the baby and my son getting deployed, and they just moved, and they got a baby and everything, and they don't know anybody, and they need help. We got to go. 6 weeks, we're out. Who's going to help them with that? Remember? We did that one.
Yeah. He's in the military and got deployed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so their answers will allow you to move into the next stage, which is diagnosing the situation. So you have like the discovery stage, and then you have the diagnosing stage. Now, I'm going to come back to this in a little while because there's something I want to teach that I've never taught before. I do it, and I'm telling you, this podcast took me a week and a half to write. I've actually been taking notes for a week and a half, and it took me almost 4 hours to write it yesterday, because I had to get it all straight in my head, because I do this stuff so naturally. Mm-hmm. For me to like make it clear so you can understand it is like, I don't know, it was difficult.
No, a teacher clarifies what they know when they have to figure out how to explain it to the student. Then it becomes much more clear. I have to do that all the time in my business.
Yeah. So now, before I go much further, I want to state this whole process is done with questions. Questions. So you can get them talking about their situation or their problem. That's the purpose of a question, right? Mm. And it's done without you thinking about getting paid. Mm-hmm. So I've been talking about doing an internship, and I have to make a decision pretty soon. I have to just decide whether I want to do this work. But one of the things that I want to work on, right, is getting students to get their education. Let me see if I get this straight. So many will come to me and said they spent $30,000 or $40,000
on some program out there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure. We get that all the time.
Maybe more.
Okay.
We were pitched a program for apartments this weekend for $60,000.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. So here's my point. That's all well and good. I don't want to put those guys down. They do something because they do something. But think of this, Peter. What if you just took my advice that I'm giving you right now, right, and actually went into a house without expecting to buy it, but had the mindset that you're getting your education? Mm. You're just practicing. You're going in the house just to get your education.
Yep.
What would that do for you?
It would do a lot more, a lot cheaper. Because I know, and probably everybody out there knows, you spend money on programs, and unless you actually start applying it, it's just programs on the shelf. Right. It doesn't do any good.
This internship, which I have not manufactured, and I should not be talking about it. In fact, Emma's going to cut my head off. This internship, which I've kind of have baked in my mind, is that we spend we spend the first week, maybe 2, with like, here's how you find. I'm going to show some shortcuts on how to find leads. Then we're going to text them, get a conversation, and the only point of the conversation is to get in the house. And then the second 2 weeks, we're going to talk about what happened in the house. And then I'm going to coach people on like how to say things better and how to do things better. This type of stuff that we're talking about. So I don't know if that's going to be well received. I don't know if people even want that, but that's what I have half baked in my head. Okay, is how to do that, because I have a lot of students that are stumbling with this qualification process, right? So remember, you're only in the discovery stage right now, right? You don't want to diagnose until you have all the data, just like what you were saying about the doctor, right?
Yeah, sounds very doctory.
So much like a doctor when you're ill. By the way, Peter, who does most of the discovery stage in a doctor's office?
The nurses and the PAs, the physician's assistants.
Right.
And tests.
Right.
And tests. Yeah, I mean, not to pick, but doctors really can't look at you and figure out what's going on unless they have something on a piece of paper and they interpret it for you.
Right.
With a test.
So what does that tell you about our business?
Well, it really should be about the same thing.
So who should be doing the discovery stage?
Oh, somebody else. Some screening process.
Yeah. Right. Now, you should do it in the beginning yourself so you know how to do it.
Yeah, doctors go through that in their internship so they know all the details, but then they move up the chain a little bit and have the juniors, the subordinates, take care of the filtering of the basic stuff, which you're good at.
Now, being a Dan Kennedy, who is a famous marketing guy, if you've never heard of him, I just bought a couple of his books the other day. I still keep going back to him. The books were written in 2010, right? I wish I had him here. I'd show them to you, but I always go back to him. But being a Dan Kennedy disciple, right? Let me get the words right. It's been ingrained, burned into my mind. There it is. That your marketing processes could do a lot of this discovery for you.
Sure.
Like putting them through steps before they get to you. It could be a way it's done. Like for example, for a very long time I used a 6-minute recorded message.
Right.
And I would hear all the time, 6 minutes, I'm not going to do this. Okay, well, you're a suspect for me. Because the prospect will listen to 6 minutes. It's like long sales letters. When I write long sales letters, I hear, it's too long. I had an argument one time with a guy down at the church because he's telling me about how it has to be one page and has to be quick. I'm like, who makes a decision in 30 seconds? I mean, you could, and some people do, but a majority of the people want more data. They're doing their discovery on you.
Right.
So anyways, the discovery process doesn't always have to be you. It should be you in the beginning. You should understand what I'm telling you, okay? Okay, now let's get back to the question asking process, okay? The goal is to ask questions that create a vision of their problem, challenges, or situation. So you want to create a vision of their problem, challenges, and situations. Now, you and I have spent some time studying the human mind, I know, right? Because we've been all over the gamut with that stuff. And there's one thing I could tell you about that research, okay? Human beings think with mental image pictures.
Yep.
Everything is about is about what's in your mind and what do you see. We call it your mind's eye, right? So what is your mind's eye looking at? What picture is it looking at? Is it looking at bicycles are dangerous, or is it looking at that mansions are wonderful, So the difference is with your mind is your mind has subconscious and conscious minds, right? So what happens is some of your mental image pictures are skewed and some are not, and you don't know the difference between them often.
And there's a lot you don't even see, huh?
Right. So you want to create with your questions a vision of the problem, challenges, and situation for you and the seller. Okay? Now listen to this, Peter. You ready for this?
Well, when you say for you and the seller, obviously we need to know them. Are you saying that it helps clarify the situation for the seller?
The goal of questions is to create a vision of the problem, challenges, and situations for you and the seller. Right? So how many times have we been in a house and the seller is confused and we create that vision because I just go like, so let me see if I get this right. Or let me see if I get this straight. This is what happened. Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, I never really thought of it. But yeah, that's what happened. That's me creating the vision of the problem, the challenges, and the situation.
Yeah, sometimes people are stuck in something. They're not even sure what they're stuck in, how to get out of it. It's unclear. It's a bit of a mess. So when you just talk to somebody, like you call me sometimes and I don't talk too much, I'll let you talk. And you just go through what's ever happening in your head. You go, oh, here's what we should do. Thanks a lot. Like, how you welcome? But people need to do that. So doing that helps the seller too, huh? That's really clear what they need.
Here's a rule.
Yeah?
Another rule. Vision drives decision. Vision drives decision. So I know with copywriting, that's the thing that I do. You have to create that mental image picture. I did it in the beginning of the show when I talked about dealing with unmotivated sellers is like kissing a pig with warts, and it will give you a bad taste for bacon and ham. Right? That's a picture.
Yeah.
Right? Then I went on and I said something about the dog chasing the cat. Right? Remember that? Let's see if I can find that. Anyways, so I talk about, the seller will be chasing you much like the dog chases the cat. It's a vision.
Yeah.
Right? So your words create visions.
Well, a picture's worth 1,000 words, eh?
There you go.
Yep.
So knowing that vision drives decision and that you're looking to get them to talk about their problems, challenges, and situation, right? Get them to talk about the problem because you know what the problem is. You don't know how you can help them yet. All right, let me say that again. If you don't know what the problem is, you're not going to be able to help them. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
Right? So vision drives decision.
So we're developing a sequence here to start with diagnosis.
No, we start with discovery.
Discovery, looking, then the diagnosis.
Right. We haven't done the diagnosis yet. We haven't gotten all the information.
We're still discovering.
So what we got to do is we got to discover what the problem is, and the way you do that is get them to talk about their problem, because until you know what their problem is, right? You don't know how you can help them.
Yeah.
Right? You can't diagnose properly.
So we're still discovering.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this doesn't have to happen fast, by the way. This could happen like in 5 minutes. Okay? So here we go. This is how I let them sell themselves on me being on me instead of. I'm going to say that again. So this is how I sell them. How I get them to give me offers. That's what I'm trying to say. Right? This is how I let them sell themselves on me instead of me selling them.
Yeah, because I say you get to the point where they want to do something with you.
Right.
And then they start pitching. They start pitching, right?
Right.
Exactly. Because I've seen it happen.
Right. So I'm not pitching them. They're pitching me. I'm being a reluctant buyer all the time and making them prove to me that I'm their solution. And that's a mindset that you can't have a scarcity mentality when you have that. You can't be needy when you're doing that. You can't put them on a pedestal while doing this. Right?
Yep.
You have to do the discovery stage. You have to. Okay? You as a professional need to start putting together in your mind the agenda. There's going to be an agenda or a roadmap of how this is going to go. Right? How is this transaction going to work so everybody gets what they want? I've made comments in the past where I've said, I envision the paperwork in my head. Remember I told you that?
Yeah, and that really threw me at first. Like, I'm still at the front end when I was learning, and I haven't done as many contracts as you do. But when you're working on something, it has to fit like how the contract is going to go, the actual details of how the procedure is going to happen.
Right. So once you do a few contracts, you'll start to, it'll start, and I'm not saying in the beginning you got to do this because you could do this without doing contracts, but that's because I have that visual and I have that agenda in my mind and I'm thinking, what's the roadmap to get us from here to there? Mm. Like, for example, if I'm going to do a subject to deal, I know I need to go through the gamut of questions so that they get the picture of the roadmap of how it's going to work. And this doesn't take long. It can be done in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the theory of it, so I'm just trying to I'm hoping that I can help with how this would work, right? And we do all of this with questions. Okay? And to do this correctly, you need to break it down to actually 3 types of questions.
Oh, there's types of questions?
Yeah.
Damn it.
One,
I didn't know that. Why don't you tell me that?
So one, why do we ask a question? 2, when should we ask the question? That's a big one. Mm. And 3, what types of questions should we ask? Right? So let's start with 1. Why ask a question is to mostly qualify the seller, and we need information. Right? You need to derive enough information to determine he or she is willing to receive your help. Receive your help. Mm. Not give you their money. It's receive your help. Get that? That's a mind shift. You're there to help them, not make money off of them. If you do your math correctly and you do everything I'm teaching you, the money's much bigger than if you do it the other way. If you do a presentation and it's like this battle between you and the seller on, I'll give you 180, I'll take 170. Let's split it in the middle, like pawn shop on TV, or the pickers. Let's split it. One of my coaching clients talks about a book that I haven't read yet they talk about don't split the difference. There's some guy that writes a book about that, right?
I saw a quote on Grant Cardone says never split the difference. Like,
right.
Yipes.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't have to do that. Okay. So the questions are to qualify the seller. We need information. You need to derive enough information to determine he or she is willing to receive your help, and if there is enough benefit in the deal for everyone involved. You're the professional. You have to decide that. So you have to figure out if I have some sort of an agenda, like for example, I want to do a subject to deal. That's the agenda. So the question would be, would you sell your house for what you owe on it? That question is the right question for the deal. And what I'm trying to make here, without making it difficult, because I don't want to think that it's overwhelming, each deal has its own kind of questions for qualifying.
What you made me think of there with that question, because it connects with a subject to. There's like the raw question in your head. You're thinking, gee, I wonder if I could just pay the guy's mortgage and buy the house, right? That's in your head. But you can't say that to the person. It's kind of crude. So you have a much nicer question that gets that answered.
Yeah, sometimes I ask the crude questions.
Well, yeah.
What I'll do is I'll ask for permission. Let's role play a little bit.
Yeah.
Peter, I know that there's some stuff going on between you and your wife with this house. Do you mind if I ask some questions to find out how I can help you?
That'd be fine.
So he just gave me permission to say whatever I want.
Yeah, you know why though? I thought you were going to say, can I ask you a few questions to find out what's going on? Yeah. I thought that you almost were going to say that, just in my own mind. And I would have said, no, mind your business. But when you said, so I can help you,
right?
I paused.
Right.
Because I would pause if somebody gave me that question, like, to help me. To help me? Yeah, I need some help. So when you said that, it made me feel like answering to help you, not so I can buy your house.
Right.
So I can find out what's going on, to help you.
So I have a coaching, he's not a coaching client. He's actually a student looking to become a coaching client right now that has a deal that I swear to God, if I wasn't as ethical as I am, I would want to be a partner in this deal with this guy because it's a really good subject to deal. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyways, part of the deal is this: the guy is trying to sell the property, right, and doesn't know where his wife is.
I'm sorry.
We have to skip trace the wife to figure out where she is.
They're still married, not ex-wife?
Right.
Oh,
and my student is like giving me this whole scenario, and I broke it down for him on one, which by the way I do 45 minutes consults. I do them half a dozen of them a week to help people figure out where they're investing, whether they should be in the business or not, and I'll help them sometimes do deal structuring for 45 minutes. And if you want to know how to do that, just go to flippinghouses4rookies.com / I think it's consult or free consult or something like that. If you can't find it, just send me a support ticket. I'll make sure that we get it to you. Okay, but I was on one of these calls, right? And he's telling me about this whole deal. And think about what I'm doing with him. I'm just helping him. I'm not worried about if he's a coaching client. I'm not worried about if he's paying me. I offered to give him a free 45-minute consult. And I'm a weirdo with that stuff because if we're on the consult, I'm not restricting what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it. I did a deal with a guy the other day, the entire math, and you know what I told the guy?
What?
What the F are you doing on the phone with me? Go get the paperwork signed. Why didn't you sign this paperwork? Go there right now. Hang the phone up with me. You're wasting your time with me. Go get the paperwork signed. That's what I told him. Right?
Yeah, but that's how life works.
Right. So here's another rule. Let's move on. Here's another rule. No specific. So actually, we're moving on to. So the first one is, what questions we should ask, right?
Yeah,
why do we ask questions, right? The next question is when should we ask questions?
Right? You've been trying to teach me that. I think I'm getting the hang of that because I don't know about you folks. But when I have a question in my head, I want the damn answer now. My poor wife would be in the middle of the night like, hey, did you pay the bill on the insurance? Like, leave me alone. I'm sleeping.
Well, that's true. And not to pick on you, but you stop conversations to get your questions. You interrupt the flow. Like with me, I'll be trying to give you some concept or tell you what's going on. And you're so blatant about it. You'll you do it here on the podcast. You interrupt the conversation just to get your question answered.
Yeah.
It's like it can't wait.
Yeah, I'm bad at that. I'm trying to reel it in.
Right? So here's another rule.
Bill, you have to get a little buzzer or a clicker. When I do it, go click, click. You can train me.
Like Pavlov's dog.
Yeah, like they do on the TV shows.
All right. So here's another rule. No specific information is given by you until you have determined that there's enough reason for doing it. Right? So let me give that to you again. No. So this is a rule, and this is a mind shift change because so many people want to go in and give their presentation and say, look what I have. You should do it too.
Yeah.
Right? So the mind shift here is no specific information is given by you until you have determined that there is a profitable reason for you doing it. And I don't mean profitable like money, like should I spend another 10 minutes with this guy or girl? Or should I get the hell out of here? Have they proven to me that they're worthy of my knowledge? Right? And a lot of the qualifying questions should be asked in the very beginning of the discussion. Let me give you an example, okay?
Sure, yeah, please.
Would you be willing to take monthly payments until I can pay you in full? Here's another one. Here's another one. We use this one all the time in texting. Would you be willing to lease for a year or two and then sell it to me? Those are qualifying questions. You ask them up front, because if they say no, let's role play it, okay? Let's just role play it.
Right.
Peter, would you be willing to lease for a year or two and then sell it to me?
So I lease it to you, then I sell it to you. Well,
So I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna pay all your expenses and take care of the maintenance and the repairs for 2 years, and then sometime in that 2 years, I'm actually gonna go get a loan and pay you off.
Well, I'd rather not wait. I'd rather have my money up front.
Good. So how much money do you think you're going to get from this deal? Actually, that's the wrong question.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of like, anyways. So I would probably ask them, okay, so how much money are you asking for the house? Right.
Yeah.
And then I would ask, how much money do you think you're getting from this deal? I'm going to cover that in a minute, okay? Because what just happened right there? So I want to clarify this. What just happened with you and I right now is the only reason why people do not make money in real estate. The only reason right there. I promise you.
Why? What happened?
Okay.
Was it good or bad? I'm not sure what really happened.
I feel like I'm on Planet Bill and nobody's with me. So let's go back. So let's do role play, okay?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to sell? I'm give that to you. Would you be willing to lease your house for a year or two and then sell it to me?
Well, I could, but I mean, I'd rather sell it like now, get my money now instead of wait.
So there you go. It happened right there. What do I say? How do I answer that?
Yeah.
What happens at this moment is a crucial part of the deal.
Right.
And if you don't know how to handle this, you're dead. You are dead. Deal over. It never even got off the ground. You never mind getting on the runway. You never started the plane's jets.
Right, but the good news is...
died right there.
Right, but the good news is he didn't say no.
Right.
You're still in the game. What I learned from you when I first started, because I'd be on the phone making calls to train and learn how to do this. I still do. But they'll say something and I go like, damn, what do I say? I'm just stumped.
All right, good.
Stumped.
So I'm gonna cover that.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is not a specific answer, but just keep talking. Just keep asking questions. Just keep going with something. Don't
because
give up.
What we're talking about is when should we ask questions, right? All right. So these words I just used. What are you be willing to? Would you be willing to take monthly payments until? All right. So all that stuff I'm not going to talk about today because those are in my scripts, and you have, my scripts have most of them covered. So just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. And you can get them there. Or the latest script is at flippinghousesforrookies.com/virtual. And that's got a text script and a phone script with the latest language in it, okay? And then you can get, because by the way, do you think we need scripts for texting too?
Oh, sure, why not?
Yeah, all right. So I want you to understand there's a difference between open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. And I'm not going to cover them today. In fact, we might have to do another podcast next week to cover some of this stuff. There's a difference between a negative question and a positive question. Okay.
Really?
So, yeah. So, like, let me give you an example of the second two, right? Would you be willing to lease your house for a year or two and then sell it to me? That wouldn't work for you, would it? That's a negative ended question with a positive answer. Right? So the first one is, would you be willing to take monthly payments until I can pay you in full? That's an open-ended question. It's not a closed-ended question.
So when you say, I'm not sure, I never heard that particular term anywhere. So when you say it's open, what does it really mean?
So open means you're looking for an answer other than yes or no. Closed-ended would be like yes or no. It ends the communication. So like if I were to say to you, Peter, do you want to have lunch?
That should be yes or no.
Right. Or I could say to you, Peter, what would you like to have for lunch today?
And that can go on and on.
And that's an open-ended question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. A negative or a positive question could be something like, so you're 3 months behind on your mortgage payments. How does that make you feel? That's a positive, negative question.
Oh, wait a minute. It's a what?
A positive or negative open-ended question.
Like a yes or no?
No,
No,
a positive or negative.
So that's pretty open because they just give you their answer?
It's an open-ended question, but you're looking for a negative or a positive answer.
Right. Okay.
Right? So you're like, you're looking to test them to see where they're at. If they give you like, oh my God, the mortgage company, they suck. Oh my God, I got to get rid of them. Oh my God, that's all negative stuff. Or it could be positive, like, yeah, well, my mother's going to help me. I'm going to have it paid off next month.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Which is why I kind of didn't include this in today's podcast. We might have to do another podcast to explain a little bit more of this. But anyways,
pretty fancy.
Right now, and I don't want you to clutter your mind with that. I'm just bringing it up because there might be some guys on here that are more experienced at this, and I want to make sure they understand that, especially my coaching clients. What I want to do right now is I want to give you the lethal weapon that I've never taught you before. Okay, and that is. Honestly, this is a lethal weapon. And the fact that I'm actually doing on a free podcast is like stupid of me, right? It really is, because this is really like, I don't even know what to say about this, but I'm going to do it. So here we go. You ready, Pete?
Go for it.
This is not even hype. I really mean this. I mean, this is like what I do in my coaching group.
I know.
About.
I've seen you've had conversation with people you work with or people advise and marketing, and they tell you you're doing too much, you're giving too much away. I've heard it a number of times.
Right. So it's called the redirect question.
Okay.
Okay. And the most potent skill you can have in any situation. It's called the redirect question. This is where you answer a question with a question, but with absolute finesse, so you don't piss off the person asking the question. Right? So you can, and the reason why you do it is to regain control of the conversation. Right. Because if the seller starts asking you questions, the discovery process, especially in the discovery process, right? You lose control of the situation. Right? So you can regain control of the process with a redirect question and get the seller from desire to total interest. Right? Like Dan Kennedy says, from pest to welcome guest without a hassle.
So it got to be like the Verizon callers where it goes off the rails and they get you back on the rails no matter what.
Yeah, but that's pitching. This is selling. Okay? This will take practice, but if you use this tool correctly, which most don't, you will be amazed at how it will pay you off and the seller off. This is a skill that it's for the pretty house business, right? But it's a skill that you have to learn. It's a practice skill. And if you do as I'm about to teach you, the seller will become involved in with a more logical sense to the transaction. They'll understand more because, right? What we talk about, images create desire, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we talked about that, right?
Yeah, you get an image of something and you go, oh, I do that, like, hey, look, how about we buy you a brand new car? And then, just some really nice car. And I'm thinking in my head, maybe they'll stop crashing it. That's what you do with your kids. You buy them a brand new car, and they'd be really more careful. How would you like them? They start, like, but you have to get the summer job, just whatever, but just like a carrot in front of somebody.
Right. So it's vision is decision. Vision helps make decision, right? So what I'm about to teach you is going to become, they're going to become more interested in doing the deal instead of it just being a desire, right?
Yeah.
So they'll be more involved, have a logical sense about it, often become very interested and passionate about doing your deal because he or she feels it is the perfect diagnosis, right? You get so involved that they're so involved and passionate about it, they don't even notice that you redirect them. Mm. So let me give you an example, okay?
Yeah.
So the seller says, how much is your offer? Like you're on the phone with them the first time. Like, I hate that. But, you call them up and it's like, I'm interested in buying your house. Is it for sale? Yeah, how much is your offer?
Yeah, they want a number.
Right, like it's Prime, like Amazon Prime, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you do? Mm-hmm. So right there, here's what happened. The seller took control of the conversation, mm-hmm. right? So every time you don't know how to answer, every time you have something like this happen to you, it's because you lost control and you don't know what to do.
Right.
So this tool that I'm going to give you right now, it needs practice, but you got to do it gracefully. It's got to be with finesse. Mm. So the seller says, how much is your offer? Like on the first phone call.
Yeah.
Right? I would say, that's an excellent question, Mr. Seller. If you don't mind me asking, why is the sale of the property so important to you right now? Mm. Right? Or the question I said to you before, what's the biggest challenge you face right now with selling a house? Right? You gain control of the question, but you do it with finesse because you want to help them. So you got to do it from a help flow, not from a sales pitchy, objection, stall, resistant type of answer. You're not trying to handle them on anything. Mm. You're just curious and you want information.
Yeah, you're not opposing him either. No. I noticed that you didn't ignore the question either, because if you just ignored the question and just asked the question you want, you could get away with it. But the person would feel, whether they realize what happened or not, they'd feel like what just happened here. So you said, well, that's an excellent question. So you at least responded to the question to kind of get it out of the way and then asked your question.
And then he could answer with something like, because we bought a new house and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right? See, it's amazing how it works. So let's do it again. Let's just do it all in one breath.
Yeah.
So the seller says, how much is your offer on the first phone call?
Yeah.
And you say, that's an excellent question, Mr. Seller. If you don't mind me asking, why is the sale of this property so important to you right now? And he would answer, because we bought another house and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. My daughter has to go to college. I need the money. See, the bottom line is if you tie this in with other podcasts we've talked about, does the seller have the point of view that this is an asset and they're trying to get their money out of it, like a bank account, or is this a liability where it's costing them money? Mm. Like assets bring you money, liabilities cost you money, right? So which way are they looking at it? In this particular case, by asking that question, we figured out that this person thinks it's an asset.
Yeah.
So right away, we know what to do with this guy. So we know how the discovery is going to go. So it sends us down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
Let's do another example, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to take payments. You've never heard that question, have you?
I did it myself a minute ago.
You just said it to me a few minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
So you could say something like, interesting, Mr. Seller. Let me ask you, what's more important to you? A higher price or selling the house as fast as possible?
Right. So if there's one thing you've taught me is that everything has to have a benefit one way or the other. Like we're asking the guy for more time. And he said, why should I wait? Why don't I get all the money now? So you ask a question like that because he gets a little bit more money if he waits.
Right.
There has to be an upside. So you use that and make a nice question like you did.
So I think you're missing the point here because you say to me, it makes a nice question like you did. So it's like I wrote this fairy tale or something like that.
No,
the
I mean,
point,
it
the point
makes a
that
question that, I mean, a response
it's plausible.
is not...
It's plausible.
Yeah.
But here's the point is it's not a response. You keep saying that it's a response. It's not a response. It's taking control back so you can continue your discovery stage. It's not a response. A response, an acknowledgement means communication over. Right? Like, ask me a question.
Hey, what time is it?
In the East Coast or the West Coast?
East.
Daylight savings time or regular time?
Well, whatever we're using right now.
In New York or in Maine?
I think it'd be the same, so either one.
See what happens? I'm not answering your question. Right? Now ask me the question again.
Hey, what time is it?
10:32 a.m.
Okay.
Do you see the difference? The acknowledgement ended the communication.
Yep.
End of cycle. Right? The other didn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to teach that as clear as I just taught it right now, but if you don't get the answer to your question, you can't do your discovery. Right? So what this does is it redirects your question so you can get the answer to your question. Politely and with finesse. Right? So when I say, when the seller says, I don't want to take payments, you're saying to them, interesting. That's an acknowledgement. Right?
Yeah.
Mr. Seller, let me ask you, what's more important to you? A higher price or to sell your house as fast as possible?
Well, that's discovery. I'll give you that.
Doing this allows you to get interesting answers. And when you hear something odd or contrary fact, right? Like a contrary fact is two things can't be true. Let me give you an example of a contrary fact. Okay? They say in the discovery stage early on, I need to sell my house because I have to pay for my daughter's college.
Right.
And then 10 minutes later, they tell you that they have, for example, they'll be like, this happened to me. I'm trying to recall the conversation. So they'll be like, 10 minutes later, it'll be, we're going to buy a new house. Do you need the money from this house to buy the new house? No, actually, my wife and I hit the lottery, and we're going to use that money. So there's two contrary facts, because he said he wants to sell the house to pay for his daughter's college, but then he tells me he hit the lottery and he has the money to pay cash for the new house. So those facts don't align with one another. Both of them can't be true. It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Right? So what do? Right? So what you do when you hear something like that, okay, is you don't go any further. You like stop. You don't go any further, and you dig and dig and dig and pick that apart until you're satisfied with your information for your discovery stage. Because if it doesn't make sense to you, or it's an oddity, don't make a thing out of it. Don't say, Mr. Liar, Mr. Seller, you're lying to me. The first one was not a mistake, too, by the way. I said Mr. Liar.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Mr. Seller, okay? So it was kind of my own Bill humor there, right? So you can't go any further. You have to pick that apart. So when the first thing that I said to you is the questions, because we're still on the 3 questions, right?
Yeah.
So it's when do you, or what types of, why do you ask questions? This is why you're asking a question right now. Mm-hmm. Because now all of a sudden you need information. It's like, wait a minute, he told me that he wants to sell the house to pay his daughter's college education, and then he just told me he won the lottery. So my first question, and this is a redirect question, would be, oh, how much did you win? Mm. I mean, it's enough to pay for a house. Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, we won $1 million. Oh, then how come you didn't pay off your daughter's college tuition with that? Mm-hmm. Right? See, I'm digging.
Yeah.
Right? Is this too complex? Is this too difficult? I feel like I lost you here.
It's kind of it's taking like questions and making them very specific types, which is kind of new to me.
Right. So you didn't answer my question though.
Nope.
Is this too difficult or too profound?
No, it's It's understandable when you say it. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, I can walk in the house and do that now.
Right.
You know, and I'm just hoping we don't have to be like incredibly 100% accurate on everything to get something done, because it'll never happen.
No.
Because I've gotten a few things done and I didn't know that much. But the point of your beginning is like, if you find a motivated seller, you're kind of okay, you know?
Okay, here's my point. I'm gonna summarize it right now. Here's my point.
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't do this, Peter, mm-hmm. This is like playing fetch with a dog. Mm-hmm. Okay? The seller throws a stick and you run after the stick. With all, you know, you're fumbling around with all your answers in your head and you're chasing the stick. Mm. You bring it back to the seller, he throws the stick
throws
again.
It again. Yeah.
The seller being in control the whole time.
Yeah.
And you work without getting closer to your deal or getting paid. And that right there is my diagnosis of 99% of investors that are trying to do what I do.
Yeah.
The seller throws a stick, you're like a dog, you go chase it. You're begging. You're trying to justify why you should take payments instead of paying them in full. It's like he's trained you to be lesser than him because it's like, well, what's the matter? You don't have the money? You can't just give me $200,000? Mm-hmm. Right? Do you remember when we were putting the offer in on that 3-family house down in New Haven off of the water there?
Yeah.
The old guy?
Yeah.
Remember? And how did I end that conversation with him? He agreed to do terms with me. He agreed to do owner financing with me. I drafted all my documents. It hit the lawyer, stopped. I was paying him 3 or 4 times the amount of money. The money was going to go to his autistic grandchild.
Yeah.
And I was paying almost 4 times the amount of money that he was asking for cash. Right? I think I was paying like he was willing to take 180, was asking 200.
Yeah.
Right? And I said to him, here's the point. I said to him at the end, I forgot his name. I think it was Greg or whatever. I forgot his name.
I don't remember either, but I know the older guy.
He's like, why don't you just give me $200,000 in cash? If you're like doing all this business, why don't you do that? And I said to him, Greg, think about what you just said. Why would I want to give you $200,000 in cash? Whether I have it or not is irrelevant. Why would I want to do that and get 3 rents when I could take $200,000 in cash and buy $1 million property and get 30 rents? And he said, I guess you're right. There you go. Mm. Okay, so I was only able to do that because my discovery stage and the diagnosis stage, everything was done correctly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I had to take control back of the conversation because if my point there is if I cow down to his, well, why don't you just give me $200,000 worth of cash? I gave him a logical reason why I won't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be mushy or passive or don't want to hurt their feelings in that scenario. Because if you do, you lose.
Yeah.
Right? So, I feel like I got off on a tangent there. Let me get my mind here. So the seller being in control of the whole time, you're working without getting closer to a deal and getting paid.
Mm.
So if the dog, if it's playing fetch with the dog, they're throwing a stick, you're chasing it. I just had a coaching client leave my coaching group that was pretty involved for this reason and only this reason, because he didn't know, he was playing fetch on every conversation. Mm. And he didn't know how to answer questions, and he didn't know how to use the redirect questions, which is part of the reason why I'm writing this podcast. It's probably a little bit over the heads of most, but that's okay, because I'll use it in my coaching group, and I don't know what else to say. This is pretty profound. That's why I said to you I shouldn't be doing this on a podcast. This is coaching. But anyways. Right?
Well, you have a lot of details, and you're above. You have so much sales training in specifics, things I never heard. I didn't know things existed.
Right.
But I'm still getting the viewpoint. Like, how could I use that? At least, for me, as I'm learning more and trying to be a better salesperson or a better non-salesperson, just try to stay in control of the conversation, find the right questions to ask at the right time, and just try to redirect so I'm getting toward my objective, not his. Even that is helpful, just as a viewpoint of, I won't remember all the kinds of questions right now and all that, but that would be helpful just to try to have that mental approach and mindset.
So here's the point. Here, let's make it real simple.
Yeah, give us like a try this or just viewpoint to use.
Prospects control the conversation. Suspects let you control the conversation.
Wait a minute. Did you say that backwards?
Possibly. So let me say it again, the correct way. I don't know what I said before.
Yeah.
Suspects control the conversation.
Yeah.
Prospects allow you to control the conversation.
Right. That makes sense.
Right? So the person that controls the conversation is the one that wants something.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, yeah, the one trying to control and make it go his way because he wants what he wants.
The pitch.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to tell you right now, the sellers have some of the most grossest pitches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
They don't know how to sell, so they're pitching you on their house. Nicest house in the neighborhood. I got my square footage. Here's a classic example. How much you want for the house? $200,000. Gee, Mr. Seller, I was just doing some research, and it seemed like the neighborhood is worth $180,000. Oh well, my house has this and it has that, and it's the prettiest house in the neighborhood. And so basically, Mr. Seller, you haven't brought your house to the market to find out what the market will say, and it's just a subjective view of the house that you happen to have a lot that you're very biased about because you built it.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so I know we're out of time, but I wanna kind of give you a little tool that I use.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, I think that's you have a lot of amazing theory there, and if you just give us like a tool, that'll button it up for us rookies here. That would really be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the motivation grading scale.
Oh, okay.
I use this scale to measure the motivation level of somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. And it can be used in two different ways. You can use this in the beginning of the sale, or you can, or the beginning of the conversation. I keep saying sale. The beginning of the conversation, or the end of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it goes something like this. If you ask a question like this, based on your current situation, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, you can wait, 10, you aren't desperate but you're ready to sell now, where are you at? Or you could do something like, if you could sell your house today on a scale of 1 to 10, and 1, you would wait, and 2, you can't, where are you?
And all of that is nothing to do with our conversation in our.
This could be done in the first 3 minutes of the conversation.
That's just where they're at.
Yeah. I mean, at any given time, it's no different than, when I first told you the other question, right?
What's more important to you, making more money or selling your house fast?
That's another good question. Or the one that I was talking about, what's your situation like? I lost my train of thought. Anyways, so does that make sense? So you could do all these questions like right up front to find out what your motivation is.
There's one that you used to use, I've heard you use at the end when you're walking out. Like,
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay.
That's
Hold
the
that
second.
thought.
That's the second way I would use it. Right. So does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna get a number from them. It's gonna be an instant number, right? And it's gonna be 1 through 10.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Now the second way is what you were just talking about. So I do my presentation and I get all done and I'm walking out the house and I said, based on the information we discussed today, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning you won't sell to me, 10 is I bought the house. Where are you at?
Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting part that I probably never discussed with you. 1 to 5. So they say there are 3. 1 to 5, they're a suspect. 6 to 8, they're in desire.
Okay.
9 to 10, they're in strong interest.
Yeah.
Now, if they're in desire, what does that mean?
That means you still got to keep cooking them?
Yeah. So if they're in desire, that means that you're doing all the work. They're sitting on the sidelines. So if you hand it to them in a gold, on a silver platter, they might consider it. Right? But if they're in strong interest, they'll do everything you ask them without ever giving you any trouble.
That's pretty good when you get that.
Yeah. So you could get that right up front without spending an hour with them. And I do that with little tests. Right? I mean, you could, I don't do this often, but you could say, oh, you don't have your mortgage information. I'll tell you what, why don't you gather your numbers and I'll call you back tomorrow. And then when you call back tomorrow, if they have all their specific numbers, guess what? You know where they're at.
Yeah,
if they don't, if they don't, then you won't.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll often leave a house, like after doing a presentation, and we need to do more with giving them little things to do.
Yeah.
Right? You've seen me do that.
Yeah.
Okay? And the reason why is because your words, when your words match your actions, then I can trust them. Yeah. So if they say they're going to get the mortgage, they're going to get the taxes, they're going to talk to their husband, or whatever they're going to do, and I call them back the next day and they have all that done, then I know that I have a seller I should carry on with.
Right.
Okay?
Yep. Yeah, I just got a new tenant in my condo, and it was less than a week from the time just a few days, saw her, and then she paid again, and everything she said, she would text me in advance. It was just, responsible. She just wasn't waiting for me to push her. She showed up when she said she would. Drove, an hour from someplace. So, feel comfortable then. You can trust somebody.
Good. So let's end off with this, because we're about ready to end off. So if you go to flippinghouses4rookies.com/free stuff, and you download the prospect suspect sheets, you get the prospect suspect sheet. The second page is a actual questionnaire that you fill out to figure out if they are a prospect or suspect.
Yeah, that's the one where you review what you just did and kind of go over how it turned out and score a bit.
Right.
Did the person do this? Did you do that? Are they willing this?
Right. And then the third page is the prospect suspect form questions, which are these questions that we've been talking about.
Oh,
and there's about 25 of them on there. So let me just read some of them for you, for those of you that, because you're telling me that I went too profound today and you want some examples. So I don't understand if here's the thing. I've given you guys this already and you don't use it. So I have to do a 90-minute podcast to explain to you why these things are important. So now you could do it the easy way. Right? So
we're sorry. We're like children.
It aggravates me because I've already given them to you, but you don't use them. How many coaching calls have you listened to or have you been on where I say to my coaching clients, my private coaching clients, they pay me a lot of money. Yeah. And I ask them, did you ask them the question? What question? What do you mean what question? Did you ask them the question? No. Here's the thing that really amazes me, okay? This and this is a total rant. This completely befuddles me. You get somebody on the phone and ask them if they're willing to take payments, and they're a little bit curious, just a little bit curious. You go out to the house without even trying to think you're going to buy the house, and you look at the house. You walk around the house, you look at the house, and the very first thing you say to them is, Mr. Seller, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And then you use the questions, the redirect questions like I just talked about, so you get their situation, and you'll buy a house. Maybe not that one, but it's not that difficult. But you guys make it difficult because the redirect questions are the secret sauce to this business. If you don't know how to respond with a correct, precise question and get back control again, you're not hitting your full potential. It's so amazing. You guys think it's so amazing that I could do one deal out of 5 and it takes you guys 1 out of 15 to do. That's the reason why. It's the redirect questions. And when I feel like there's an oddness or something weird about what they're saying, I dig in. And I fetch around looking for what's going on until I get it. And they always tell you if you just ask the right question. So here's some questions. You ready? I'm going to rattle down.
Yep.
How about this one, Peter? You're on the phone with somebody. Within 3 minutes, they're telling you wanted they're blah, 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 blah. Well, Peter, what were you expecting from this call? Just ask them, what were you expecting from this call? I was looking for an offer. Okay, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? Well, give me $280,000, but the house is only worth $250,000. I understand. Give me $280,000. So you're saying if I don't give you $280,000 in cash in the next 30 days, you won't sell the house? Those are all redirect questions. I've taught these to you already.
Yeah.
Right? Here's another one. Was I able to help you with that today? So first you say, what were you expecting to get from this call? Well, I wanted an offer. Was I able to help you with that today? Or how about this one? How about if I come out to the house and I help you with that today? Would that be of benefit to you? These are all redirect questions.
Yeah.
Right? How about this one? How do you think I could help you with selling your house? These are on this form. This form has existed.
Is it 2 years? 3 years?
3 years?
Yeah.
These are on the form. You just don't use them. Especially you. or anybody. They just don't use them. They're here. Okay? How about this one? If you were to sell me your house today, what were you expecting to walk away with? Wouldn't it make sense that you ask that question this first 5 minutes you're talking to them, and then just either say, I can't. So let's just roll that. Let's just role play this.
Yeah.
Hey, Peter, how are you? This is Bill Hawthorne from Homes R Us. I was calling because you have a house for sale and you talked to my virtual assistant, and I just wanted to chat with you for a couple minutes and see what's going on.
Oh, sure. Hi, Bill.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Good. So you have a house for sale. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It looks like it's on in Meriden. It's in a good school district. I got all this information, and I might go over the information with you just to verify what the VA gives me. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now. Yeah. Okay, good. So let me ask you something, Peter. If you were to sell this house today, what were you expecting to walk away with?
Well, it's all over how much am I going to get to keep? I think about $35,000.
Oh, okay. So if you didn't get the $35,000, what would happen?
Well, it depends. If it's a close offer, it'd be okay, but I don't want to take half of that or anything.
Well, here's the thing, Peter. Have you ever considered closing costs?
Oh, beyond the 6%, yeah.
Even if I don't buy the house and somebody else comes along and buy the house,
yeah.
With the closing costs, I don't think you're going to get 35%. I'm sorry, $35,000. Yeah.
What do you think I would get?
Well, let's do the math.
Okay.
You see what I just did?
Yeah.
I didn't say, no, I'm not giving you $35,000. I'm going to logically go through some questions until I get you to the point where I'm going to actually do a presentation now.
Right.
But am I going to do the presentation and have it fall on deaf ears? Are you interested? You're not at desire right now. You're at strong interest. Why? Because I got you because of that one question. If you were to sell your house today, what were you expecting to walk away with? Oh, $35,000.
Mm-hmm.
What if you can't get the $35,000? What do you mean? That didn't consider he didn't have that thought in his head.
No, if the house costs this much, the mortgage is that much, the realtor is 6%, and maybe $600 for the lawyer, $800, and I want that.
Right.
So
vision is vision is decision. So I need to create the vision of the closing and what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Is this making more sense?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So.
Yeah, and I wasn't even complaining about it being complicated. It's just that you obviously have so much knowledge.
Right.
I think of questions as questions. You have different kinds of questions. But just as a takeaway, just be logical in a response that keeps the conversation going, asking the right questions. I don't mean response, questions that get you to understand what the person's trying to do and help them understand how it really works.
Right.
It's like a reality point,
I got that, but I want to do a little bit more role play before we go because we're almost out of time.
Sure.
Okay. So let's go back to the scenario. Let's do role playing again. So tell me about the $35,000. So I say to you, if you were to sell me the house today, Peter, what were you expecting to walk away with?
$35,000.
Oh, I got it. Okay. So what were you planning on doing with the money?
Well, I thought I'd use it for a down payment on my next house.
So first of all, the fact that there was a lag and he had to think about it, that's me creating the vision. I just created the vision because now he's thinking about it because he hadn't thought about it because nobody asked him that question before. So he doesn't have a vision. So I'm helping him create the vision so he can make the decision.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I was talking about earlier.
So it actually helps it clarify for the other person. You think they have this all figured out, but people don't have things figured out.
Right.
That's why we talk to each other. You get a more clear idea what you want, what you don't want, and what you could do.
Okay, so let's continue with this. So let's go back to If you were to sell me your house today, what were you expecting to walk away with, Peter?
Well, I was hoping for like 35,000.
Okay. So what were you planning on doing with the money?
Well, I would use it for a down payment on a condo.
I see. So what would happen if you didn't sell the house the way you expected to?
You mean if it got less?
Well, yeah. Suppose you couldn't do it in the next 30 days, or if you did get less money.
I guess I just have to wait.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What's more important to you, getting top dollar or selling it quickly?
I'm not in a hurry. I don't have to move, so I could wait a little bit for more money.
Okay, so bingo. How long did that just take me to qualify you?
Yeah, 92 seconds.
Right? So am I going to spend a lot of time with you?
A little more, yeah.
Maybe 5 more minutes, but that's it, because am I going to get something from you?
Well, I'm saying that I'd be willing to do terms, maybe, right? With that answer, huh?
What did you say?
I said I'd be willing, if I'm not in a hurry, so I'd be willing to take, get a higher price. So that means I'd be interested in doing.
Oh, I didn't hear the second part of it. Yeah, the point is that I qualified you right there.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that take?
I'm not a low cash deal, like I need to go right now, but I could be a longer terms person because I could.
How long did that take?
92 seconds.
That's a number you made up, but the point well taken.
Right here, I'm watching. It's fast though.
How many of my coaching clients or people listening to us right now do that?
4.
Right?
Yeah.
Naomi, when she was with us, was really good at this because she had this unbelievable, we call it a bognition. Right? A cognition is like an aha moment. A bognition is like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Okay? So her bognition was, when we first worked on the script, she would spend a half an hour, 45 minutes on the phone with them to find out they weren't qualified.
Yeah, asking too much warm-up questions, too much house questions.
Building rapport. You know what I say to rapport? It's on my right hand between my index finger and the other one. It's right in the middle. It's like, screw you on the rapport. Asking the right questions builds rapport. We talked about a couple weeks ago, building affinity. How do you build affinity? By talking about them. Mm-hmm. Right? Asking them, once we closed on a property, what were you planning on doing with the money? We're like in there. We got past the social veneer, and he has to either answer the questions or get off the phone. Now, he could say, none of your business. You're exactly right. It is none of my business. Mm-hmm. Because you and I are no longer going to talk. Mm-hmm. See ya, buddy. We're out of here. He just flipped the switch for me. He's a suspect. Get away from me. He goes into the follow-up system.
Yep.
You want to do one more and then we'll go?
Sure.
Or have I made my point?
Examples help.
Okay.
Because one of the things with your questions, you're not spitting it out right now, but what I'm seeing is you talk about deals being in 2 buckets. It's a cash deal. It's a terms deal. Pretty house or ugly house. So right. A lot of your questions are: do you need money right, like a fast sale, or can you wait for more money? So one could be a quick cash sale, and one could be a terms deal where it's longer, right? Because that's like the 2 buckets in general, just to keep it distinguished.
Simple. All right, I'm going to read through some of these questions, and then we're going to end off, okay? So if you sold your house tomorrow, what would happen? Or what would change your life? Right? Would things get better if I could buy your house soon? Are you tired of things being the way they are right now? How important is selling your house to handle your divorce or whatever the problem is? Or to buy the new house? Or to pay the mortgage? Right? Explain to me how things would get better if you sold the house today. Have you done anything to try to sell the house so far? How long have you been trying to sell this house and get rid of whatever problem? How long have you been dealing with trying to sell your house? Is just another way to put it, right? What have you done so far to try and get this house sold? That's a huge question right there. That question is like the situation like gold digger right there. I mean, you just strike a gold vein when you ask that one. What have you done so far to try and get this house sold?
Yeah.
Right?
You're going to get their history of good and bad, what they really hate, what they don't, what they like.
Right. How is selling this house affecting you? Right? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel in control of the sale of this house? Right? So there's more here. The point that this sheet is this way is not to memorize these questions, but to have this sheet on your desk, and whenever you get to a point where you don't know how to answer, you glance down at it and you pluck a question and keep going.
So those, you can intersperse those with the regular script while you're on the phone.
Right.
Yeah, because the thing that would always bother me the most is like an impasse where there's nothing to say. You're screwed. So you have to have something to say, a question to ask, and that's how you use those.
Peter, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
What have you done so far to find a buyer?
Yeah.
See it just fell right into the. Peter, let me ask you a question. What have you done so far? You were completely talking about something else, and I just put it in the conversation.
Yeah, but I like how you let me ask you a question, so you get permission. You don't just, it's not blunt. It's nice the way you do it that way.
So, Peter, before I go, I have one more thing to ask you. If I call my partner to help us with this deal, what would you want from him the most?
I'm going to make up an answer, or are you just throwing out a question?
You see what I'm saying? So, like, people, like, want to send me a coaching question or they want to send me a support ticket. You should ask that question before you send me the ticket and just ramble on with all the nonsense that you tell me about with the house that has nothing to do with the deal. You should ask that question. If I call my partner to help us with the deal, what would you want most from him? And then send me a support ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what the F? Why are you making it so hard? I'm not sure if this podcast was for you or for me. But I got it off my chest, so there you go. It's official. If you do not learn this skill, you will not hit your full potential and make consistent income. Because you're wasting suspects and prospects, and you're wasting your time, and you're going to get burned out. Especially the redirect questions. If you don't know how to control the conversation and ask some of these amazing questions that I've asked hundreds and hundreds of times and gotten results just like I get from you and just like I get from my seller, then get out of my life. Because you're not doing it right. End of rant.
You got good questions, Mr. Hawthorne. Very good questions.
I would prefer when we do things like this, because I got to tell you, Peter, the last 5 or 8 podcasts have been really good. Yeah. I've really poured my guts out. I've had a lot of compliments, a lot of support tickets. Please go give us a testimonial if you're doing this. Go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. The top right-hand side says proof it works. Leave a testimonial. Go give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Subscribe to this podcast so every time we come on, you can hear another podcast. Okay? That's all I ask of you, to give you all this information. I think that from listening to so many listeners, we definitely have got a lot of good information, and we've helped a lot of people, and I want to continue doing that, but I don't want to waste your time. Just like I'm asking you to do with your seller, I'm asking you to give me feedback so I know what to do. What would I have to talk about on a podcast to keep you interested? See how it works?
Good one.
Okay. So with that said, I'm over and out. I got all the chats in the Facebook thing. And I got that you guys will pay $1 million for the internship. I got that, Miss Desiree. I saw that. So I just want to say, as soon as I need to get with somebody tomorrow, a guy that I work with, my coach, and I need to kind of work because I got a couple things going on, and I don't want to get too much and bite off more than I can chew. So I expect that in the next 3 or 4 days or a week, if we're going to do the internship that I'm talking about, I'll start, because that's where this stuff would culminate. I would watch over your shoulder, excuse me, and actually help you with this stuff. Okay? Okay, Peter. Well done. I got a bunch of thumbs up from that on Facebook, so we're good. Any last minute questions while I'm choking?
No, it's good. If nothing else, we need to pay attention to what people say and ask the right questions. Yeah. Just pay attention to it. Keep on track. Don't get distracted. If they throw sticks, don't go chasing them.
Yeah, don't do the dogs.
But see, the image, that's good imagery.
Yeah. Vision is decision.
And my rookie's advice to people: you're thinking, gee, how am I going to get good at this in practice? Practice this in normal conversations with people, yes. Right, Bill?
Yes.
You do this with your family all the time. I hear you. You do with me all the time. I've learned half your lines just have them thrown at me, and I just reverse them on somebody else later. Yeah. But just practice this in conversation to ask the right questions and try to get done what you're trying to get done, and don't get distracted.
You mean the question like when my wife says, "Let's have steak for dinner tonight." What would happen if we didn't have steak, sweetheart? Is there another choice we can make?
Mm-hmm. You can get a lot done with questions.
Yeah.
It's more
Over
powerful
and out, Peter.
than blunt answers.
We'll go on for another 20 minutes. Over and out. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.